Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I am your host, Tarsha Smith, and thank you for joining us once again. And as I always say, I hope that this podcast brings education and healing and insight to all things adoption. So today, our special guest in the building is an adoptive parent, and her name is Maria Gibson, and she is going to share her adoption story with us. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, Tasha. How are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm doing
you?
well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having
All
me.
right. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. So go ahead and let's start from the beginning. You are an adoptive parent, and let us know how you and your husband came to this decision and what that looked like for you.
Okay. I'm gonna start for myself. Um, as a child, as a kid, I remember around the age of 12 or 13, I told my mom, I was like, Mama, after I have my kids, I'm gonna adopt some kids. And she was like,
Oh,
Girl, what are you talking about? I don't know where I got that from. And I just now I'm like, the Lord spoke to me early and he
okay.
put that vision just in my heart. So when I met my then boyfriend, now husband, I told him, I said, you just having those discussions. I told him, I said, after I start a family, I want to adopt. He was like, Really? I was like, Yes. He said, Why? I said, That's something I just knew. I knew it in my heart. That's something I wanted to do. And he was like, Well, I have several cousins who were adopted. I was like, Really? Now, what's crazy, I didn't even know anyone who was adopted. That's,
That's interesting to
yes,
me.
that's the crazy part. I didn't know anyone. I didn't even have any friends. If there was somebody in my schools growing up, they never let it be known. So we went down the journey, got married, everything. And of course, just like most couples, okay, you ready? You want to try to start your family. And we went through all of that. Like I always tell everybody, everybody give you the tricks and the trades and all that to try to have a baby, and none of that was happening. So then
Mm,
we did the fertility journey, and that I was able to. I became pregnant, but ended up losing the child. So my husband was like, "Well, you said you wanted to adopt." I was like, "That I did," but just like most people, you want to adopt babies. You want a baby, 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 because you just want to experience that entire, I guess, the entire cycle of being the parent. And so we started looking into adoption and not understanding and realizing adoption costs more than a nice car. So,
can I stop for a second and ask you a
yes,
question?
yes,
Did you only experience the one miscarriage and then that was it? And then, or
yes.
did it happen?
No, just the
Okay.
one, just the one. After that, I knew I didn't want to have to go through fertility again because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay.
And for me, it wasn't necessarily the mental side of it, it was just the physical, all that you have to
Mm,
do um, to, conceive. I just didn't want to have to
okay.
do all that again. So
Oh,
I was like, I don't know. We could just enjoy this life, just be parent, just have our guard kids and just move on. So my husband, he studies a lot. He reads a lot. He's very inquisitive. And he was like, we should consider fostering. I was against it because I was like, nope, these kids come in and out your house. You get used to a child and they're going to go back with their parents. And I just didn't want that heartbreak because, at
okay.
this point, I wanted a child. So he said, well, let's just go do the classes. I said, okay. So for what I think it was 13 weeks, every Monday we had to drive to Kissimmee to sit in this 3 hour class, and we finished it at the end. Now, I had told the people in the class that more than likely we're not going to do this. Even at the end,
Mm,
I still was like, probably still not going to do it.
okay.
And um, I will never forget, we spoke with the lady. It probably was like the end of 2010. Nope. Yeah, 2010. And she was like, well, are you guys considering? And I was like, I really don't know. I need some time. I need some time. So she talked to me, she talked to us, and she's like, well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you some space and I'm gonna call you back. I said,
Okay.
okay. So she called me back the beginning of 2011, January 2011. She was like, okay, so what are you thinking? What are you thinking? I said, I don't know. I said, the only way I would do this is you can give me a baby and you know that baby is going to stay with me forever. She said, I can't make that kind of promise. I said, well, don't call me back then. So,
You wanted 100% guarantee.
yes, I needed her to tell me,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that baby in your care. But I knew she couldn't tell me that. But, when you're going through that process, you
Right.
want something positive. You're tired of all of the negative. So I never forget January, I think it was 13, 14, 15, one of those dates. I was at work and she called me, and I was like, why is she calling me again? I answered the phone, hello, just all nonchalant. And she was like, um, I have some great news for you. I was like, okay. She said, I have a 3-month-old little boy, and I could say 9.9% out of 10, he is not going back with his birth mom. I said, I'm on my way.
Ah!
So I called my husband en route. I didn't even call him and say, you know,
Say, hey, what do
do you
you
think,
think?
is
You're
this
like, I'm headed to go pick
okay?
up our son.
Is this, what? None of that. None of that. You hear me? I called him and I was like, I'm on our way to go pick up our son. He's like, what are you talking about?
What?
I was like, I said, the lady just called me. She said, we got a little boy. He's 3 months old, and 9.9%, he is not going back with his mom. And I told her I was on my way. He was like, oh, well, I guess I'll meet you at the house.
Well, honey, do you have a car seat?
Girl, none of that.
Nothing.
All that was at the house. We had that stuff at the house, but I didn't have it in the car. So, of
Okay.
course, after I got there, and he was in just the car seat that the babies are in. I was like,
Yes.
I get to take that, right? Because I don't have a car. And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, wow, I'm so excited to get this baby in my house. What am I do? What I
You
don't
got
I
diapers,
had a
formula.
yes, I had a bed. I had a bed and I had a car seat. But the car seat I had at the house was a little girl's car seat. Because to
Oh,
go back some, my husband's cousin that's in another state, his baby was in the system in Virginia. So we were
okay.
trying to get her, but over across state lines, it was just it was just a lot of work. It was a lot of work. So we just end up leaving that alone. So because we had end up sending them pictures to let them see that we actually have a room, a bed, the car seat, and all that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I had purchased a, it was a black car seat with pink stripe, pink I said, well, if he had to use it, he was going to use it until I got him something that looked a little more masculine. But
Yeah.
so happened he was able to keep the one that he had. So I got him home. I called my mother-in-law because she was home, and I was like, I'm bringing home a baby. She was like, huh? Yeah, I'm bringing home a baby. I'm not understanding. How did this happen?
Right.
I said, I'll tell you when I get home. So we got him home, and it was just crazy. By the time I got home, my husband was home. I sat my son in the middle of the floor in the kitchen, and we all just stood there looking like,
Look at that.
what are we gonna do with this baby?
You were looking at him and he was looking at
Yeah,
you.
and that's what's crazy. He never cried. He never
Oh,
cried through the whole. He just like, and we sitting there like, okay. So his little bag. He had probably like 10 Pampers in it. He had stuff that will carry him through the night. They gave us some formula. So we had stuff we can carry us through the night. But of course, my mother-in-law was like, well, I get him situated, clean him up, while y'all go to the store and get whatever you need. So that's what we did. So in between that, because I had the comfort that he wasn't going anywhere, we end up fostering 5 other little girls while we had him. And we
really?
only fostered babies. That was my stipulation. It had to be a baby because I needed the opportunity, option. If that baby was to be placed for adoption, we can be considered. So we had 5 little girls foster while we had him. So we had a house full of babies, in and out, in and out.
Girl.
And we end up getting a 2-day-old straight from the hospital. We had her for 30 days. Now she worked us out. She worked us out. She was on there every 2 hours. She really worked us out. But my son, it's like he knew from the beginning this was going to be his home. He
Hmm.
slept through the night the first night. None of us slept because all
Isn't
us,
that crazy how that
yeah,
happens?
all us getting up all night, peeping over there to see if he's okay, and he
Okay.
laying in the bed knocked out while we are
Up
up
stressing.
making sure we walk over there, Nanny and Papa, everybody, like he gonna get rest because all us keep going to that chicken out. And it was obvious that he was fine. So, you know, I always say God answers prayers
Mm,
because our first foster kid, we were able to adopt him through the foster program, which was a true blessing for us because it was just hard for me to understand paying for a child that somebody else is giving away. And I was like, if I can be a blessing to these families, even for the parents who have to make that hard decision, however decision comes about, if I could be a blessing to be able to offer their child a lifestyle that they would love for their kid to have, allow me to do that. And, I always tell people, be careful what you pray for because the older I got, I was like, okay, Lord, if you can just let me have a baby, I want to, I have them back to back. Be careful what you ask for because my kids are 15 months apart. And I tell people, I say, see that? I told Lord I have them back to back, and look at these cats were basically born back to back, and that's what I'm dealing with. 2 preteens at the same time.
at the same
At the
time,
same
God bless
time,
you.
So
I got one.
yeah,
Because fun fact, her son and my son are 3 days apart in
yes,
age.
yes,
So yeah, I know
yes,
exactly what you're going
yes.
through over there.
So, then my daughter, she was the last foster kid that we had. And ironic, that's why I get the dates mixed up. That's why I said January 13, 14, 15, because we had his baby blessing January 15th of 20, I'm going to say 2012,
Probably
because
2012.
she was born 2011. Yes, 2011. Nope, I take it back. 2011, we had his baby blessing because we got her at 4 weeks old. So she was born December. So it had to be it was 2012. She was born December. So we had his baby blessing January 15th. We got her on January 14th, the weekend of his baby blessing.
Oh, okay.
And we have this little inside joke that she doesn't even understand. We always call her Kiki's because we were at Kiki's having breakfast. And all aunties, godparents, everybody they were in town for my son's baby blessing.
Blessing.
And so we're at there. This number kept calling me, and I'm not answering because I'm eating breakfast. So I said, let me answer. I said, hello. He was like, hi. We have another baby. I was like, no. And that man was like, no, I will bring her to you. So I was like, well, he really tried hard, but it was a Saturday. And,
Yeah.
in that situation, the caseworkers, they end up with the child. And, this is a man. I guess he didn't want to be caught up with a little baby girl. So he's really trying to place her. So, it took a while. I know the people at Kiki's like, we can't wait for these people to leave because we just sat there. We kept ordering just small little drinks or whatever to try to make it seem okay for us to be there.
Just sitting there.
And so finally, they got there, and I'm like, wow, I done went from one, one to two, and they was like, more likely this one is going to stay too. And I was like, okay. So she stayed. She didn't go back home. Now her process was a lot longer
Okay.
through the foster program because that's the only thing with the foster program. Parents, the state really does want to they really want to reunite families together. They are big on reunification. And they
Mm-hmm.
would give parents the opportunity, they would give parents several opportunities to really, try to get things right in order to get their kid. And that's what we were going through with her. And it was almost a 2-year process. But
Mm.
I'll never forget, we were going out of town for Christmas. And I told him, I said, listen, before we leave, she needs to be a Gibson. I said, this has been going on too long. I get it. But, it's like we need to make something happen. And we have a judge who was willing to come in 3 days before Christmas to do the adoption process for her. So that's the only thing about fostering is being patient. You really have to be patient. And I always tell everybody, if you love that child like it's your child, what's supposed to happen will happen. Because there
Mm.
are a lot of negative tones for adoption. I mean, for foster program
And adoption.
and adoption. Yes. So, but I tell people because a lot of people, a lot of the questions I receive are, well, you don't know what you're going to get. I say, but what's crazy about that? You don't know what's going to come out your belly either. So, you really don't know what you're going to get in any child. The only thing
This
is, as birth parents, you growing up, your spouse growing up, but you don't know all the different family members that you're dealing with. And that child is blood. That's from lines and lineages. So it's like you really don't know. And all you can do is really pray and just try to groom and teach your kids. That's all you can really do. Now, I do see challenges with, dealing with history and just dealing with, bloodlines, but that's something you work with. You work with,
Yeah.
because I don't know ABCD, but all I can do is say, well, I do know this. And if we try it this way, maybe it'll be successful. You may have to figure out personalities, because you're thinking, oh, this child has been with me since they were 3 months or 4 weeks old.
Yeah.
They should
DNA is
be they
real.
should be just like me. No, DNA is what it is, and all
That
you
is
could
what
do
it
is
is.
try to groom it. You could just try to groom it, groom it, groom it. So I would say, for me, those are the only like really challenges. But other than that, I just look at it just like any other child. I tell people, I say you have to sit down and think what's best for you, the adoption or adoption through foster program. Like, if if for some crazy reason I want another child, I would go back through the foster program again.
Awesome.
I just think it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win-win for the family who wants to start a family, and it's a win-win for the kids, especially when they can get into positive homes. I mean,
Yeah.
like I tell everybody, you have people who pay thousands of dollars to adopt, and they still mistreat their child. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just what you're willing to offer in your home. And I tell people, if we did not tell people our kids were adopted, people would not know, because
Hmm.
my daughter looks just like my husband. My son looks just like me. And it's crazy. Personalities, our daughter personality, just like my Nana grandmama's. It's just crazy. I'm like, they pick it up. They pick
They
it up.
pick up those
Yeah,
traits.
they.
Let me ask you a question about the adoption. Were they open or closed adoptions?
Oh, well, with how this works, we know who the parents are, but they don't know who we are. So they're closed. But when they turn 18, just like any other, they can get information and do what they want to do with it. So, like, we raised them, they know they are adopted.
Okay, that
I
was my
did
next
not
question.
want to, I did not want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, I
I did
agree. Tell
not,
them early.
yes. And
Don't wait.
I encourage everyone I meet. They was like, oh, tell them today.
Tell them.
Today. I say, deal
Tell
with
them.
it today, don't deal with it tomorrow. Because now you have a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows that they can relate to. And it's
Right.
happened, they see it more often. And like, we've had to get my son, my son was leading with it. Hi, my name is, and I'm adopted. Baby, you don't have to tell everybody like that. It's okay.
Listen, let me tell you, my mom told me that because I learned very early on,
uh,
and my mom told me that I went to school one time, and I don't remember this, and it was show and tell, and that was my show and tell that I was adopted.
yes,
Because when you grow up knowing what that means,
yes,
you're excited about it, and
yes,
you're okay with it, and
yes.
it's
Yeah.
you know.
See, that's not my
So I get it.
my son. He's okay, but my daughter struggles. She struggles with it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, she tries to question a lot, and I'm like, today is not the day. I just have to. I say today is not today the day for that conversation. I said, the day is gonna come when we can sit down and I can talk to you. I say, but that depends on maturity. I need you to.
What kind of questions does she have?
Um, a lot of the questions I really can't answer, like, why,
Mm,
where is she here in this area? Where does she live? What's her name? Now, I know her name, but it's just some things I'm not going to tell, because my daughter is real tech. She's tech savvy, you know,
oh, she'll get on there and
who,
find everything.
who. So, certain things I can't, but she does
She's young.
question, and she just doesn't understand. And think, But I think too, sometimes the questions come, when she don't like the rules, and she think that, it just might be better. I might be able to do whatever I want to do. That's a lot of times when it comes
Oh,
about when you're going through
that's
no, we're not doing that. This is how we're going to do this. And that's a lot of times when she get in her little mood and want to ask questions about it. And I'm like, and I explain, I say, so in your mind, you're thinking that it's going to be better. Or,
mm,
she may allow you to do this, or she may allow you to do that. And
that's
yes.
interesting.
And she's like,
Did that
yes,
start when this? Because I know she's in that
yeah.
preteen age. So did
Just
that
probably
just
like,
start,
maybe like,
or has that always
like
been?
2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Okay, that
Yeah.
leading into that
Yeah.
preteen.
So I'm like,
Okay.
I say, well, you have to look at it like this. She could or she couldn't. She could say yes, she could say no. Just like I could say yes, I could say no. I say, but the thing is, when I tell you no, I always give you reasons why. I
Mm-hmm.
always tell you why that's not a good deal or why we're not going to allow you to do that. I'm like,
Right.
every household has standards, some form of standard. How high that standard is, that could be questionable, but most homes have some form of standard. I said, I don't want you to think just because that she's just gonna let you do whatever you want to do. That you don't know that. You don't know that. That's something you're hoping, but you just don't know. So I say,
Just don't know.
yeah, and I told her, I said that's unfair to us for you to only bring this up when things aren't going the way you want them to go. So,
See, she's learned, and most kids, especially right now in this day and age, they learn how to play those games,
yes, yes,
and they play
yes,
them well.
yes, yes, yes. Now,
And
my son,
go ahead.
he's more, he's grateful, he's thankful,
See,
that's
that was
right.
my
Yeah,
mentality. That's how I was. But also, I I grew up thinking the exact same way. But he's also a boy. They're a little more
yeah,
mellow
yeah. But
than girls.
I had to get him on one time because he was like, when I get older, I see her, I'm gonna tell her what she missed out on. I say, no, that's not the approach. I say, because you started this
Mm,
off with, I'm grateful and I'm thankful. I say, and that's what you start that conversation off with, thank you. And this is why I'm thanking you. I say, it's not about saying, this is what you missed out because I say, you really don't know what either you were saved from or what you missed.
come on,
I say, you
come
never
on.
know. I say,
You don't know.
she could have had a very prosperous life without you, but then she could have had a hard life without you. I said, so you really don't know. I said, you really don't. He was like, yes, I ain't think about it like that. So, the conversations are totally different with
I
him
think
and my daughter.
are both of your kids leaning towards going out and finding their families one day,
Um,
or what do you think?
I think, well, my husband and I think that my son, he's going to be the one that wants to go out and probably save or help
Mm,
his mom. That's what we think with him. Now, my daughter, I think that's going to be she's going to be the one that's going to have the hard time. She's going to want to know why. Why did you do this? I'm not understanding. I think that's the approach she's going to take. So I
okay,
think both of them would want to try to find and seek, but I think the approach is going to be totally different for both of them.
it's so interesting how
Yes.
kids both because myself and my sister are both adopted.
Mhm.
My parents adopted two girls,
Mhm.
and we both handled it very differently
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
And so, and I know my situation and her situation was also very different.
Mhm.
And it's just amazing to me how you process. this thing called adoption,
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
you just don't know. I love to think that every parent, whether adoptive, whatever, they always go into this with the best interest of the child. Now we
Mm-hmm.
both know, unfortunately, that's not always true because they
Mm-hmm.
get these kids sometime and act a whole fool.
Yes, 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 yes.
But in your case, you from early on,
Mm-hmm.
this is what you wanted. That's incredible.
Yes,
It's like you spoke that
yes,
right on into
yes.
existence.
And I was like,
Mhm.
God knew early for me. And I'm glad he planted that seed in me because, I don't know, my acceptance could have been totally different. Even down to my husband, letting this be a person who has experienced that, who has very
Mm,
close relatives who are adopted. So he's lived it, been there, done it in the conversations. So it wasn't a strange thing. It wasn't something I had to like convince or get him to
right.
understand. It was like, oh,
That's
okay, cool. It was my all right,
yeah.
no
God
problem.
does. God does all things
Yes,
well. He knows.
yes, yes.
He
So it's
knows.
like it was it was destined. It was, and I always tell my kids, I say, you guys were created for us. You were
Mm.
created for us. And so my son was like, how? You asking too many questions.
With his handsome self. Oh, he's so cute. That's so funny.
How? I'm like,
Um, what would you say to any parent that's thinking about going down this road who has the uh, concept that if I give my kid a great life, they sh- they shouldn't want to know their birth
hmm.
families? What would you say to that?
I would tell them always put yourself in their shoes.
Mm,
Always put yourself in their shoes. It's not. I well, first of all, I don't want them marrying somebody that's their family. I don't want them to hook up with their siblings. So the thing is, you want them when they become old enough, mature enough to handle the conversation and can go out and find out who their family is. You want them to be able to do that because it's going to close those doors. That's
yes.
going to hinder them for a long time, and for some kids hunt them a long time because now you're wondering, why am I like this? Why am I
Mm,
doing
come
this?
on.
Why is this
Mm,
going on in my life? And you can't make those connections because it's not happening with your adoptive parents, and it's not happening
mm,
to anybody in their family. So the thing is, where did I get this from?
right.
So the thing is, I would never want to deprive them or hold that information back to them, hold it back from them. It's just when they're able to handle it. Because I'm going to say, I'm not even going to say 18 is the age they can handle it. I need to see a
Yeah.
certain level of maturity for you to be, for you be able to go out, look for your family members, and you can approach this the right way. Because you don't want to approach it wrong and now you're hurt
Mm.
knocking on a stranger's door.
Let me tell you, you just helped me in that
Yes.
because I initially, when I reached out the very first time, I was in my early 20s, like 20,
Hmm.
and it didn't work out.
Hmm.
And when I did finally meet them, I was in my mid 30s,
Hmm.
totally different
Hmm.
mindset, totally different person. I had matured.
Hmm.
So, what you're saying makes so much sense, even to me right now. I just
Yes.
made that connection to my own
Hmm.
self.
And I tell people because when we got married, I always tell people we got married later. We got married in our late 20s, 28, 29. And we didn't get our son until I was 38. Yeah, 38 years old.
Mhm.
And I was like, of course, the older I get, and I'd be like, oh, the Lord knew exactly what he was doing because I wouldn't have had these type of patience then. It's just everything worked out. The patience that I need, it's like I'm at the right age to handle it.
You haven't.
I'm where I'm needed right now is they need me right here in this spot to raise them, because I'm like, oh, if I'd have been 31 trying to do this, 32, I'd have had some problems.
Real different.
I wasn't prepared. You think you are. You think you are, because I knew I was getting older. So I was like, oh, I got to hurry up and make this happen.
Something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like everything happened. And you always, as a woman, go, oh, I'm going to be 55 years old when my son
By the time
graduates.
you
Oh, I'm going to be
high school,
this.
that's okay.
But now, when you're, that age, well, approaching that age, whatever, you see, oh, I'm not that bad. I'm the perfect age.
Right.
I'm the perfect
And
age.
55 is not old.
Exactly. But when you're younger, you think it's,
But in 20, you're like, oh my God.
yes, because hey, my kids are already, and it's so funny because I can remember me calling my mama old, and now they're like, "Oh, mama, you're old." Listen, buddy, I'm not old. So yeah, but I just think that it's a great thing. You just adoption through straight adoption or foster, it's a great thing. It's just knowing which one fits you.
Yeah.
Which one fits you, and that's the most thing. I honestly, even though now it's harder to foster babies, because a lot
Are
of
you still fostering?
no, we were actually going to go through the process again, but I told my husband, I was like, I don't know, these two kids right here getting on my nerves.
And they're getting ready to be teenagers, baby.
I'm like, but of course, they went through their stage. Mommy, we want a brother, sister. Mommy, listen,
Play with each
all
other.
all these little all these little play nieces and nephews we have, enjoy. Yeah, so it's
Right.
just we actually considered it. But like I told my husband, I said the thing is, then that child not gonna go home. No, this would be the time when you want them to go home. I'm not gonna want you to stay this time, because I have enough. The end is
You got enough
full.
going on.
So the thing is, this is I would mind, doing it, but I need you to make sure you're going home. That's the only thing about it. And
And now your whole criteria
yeah,
is
everything
flipped.
is changed. Everything
I
is
need
changed.
99.9% that this one's
Going
going
home.
home.
Not staying. Yeah, because then I find myself like, oh man, I don't want the child to go home. Then I'm just messed up all over again. Now I got, because at this I still want to get baby. I don't want no bigger kid. I want a baby again. I don't want no big kids. So it's just for our lifestyle. The small babies worked. The smaller babies worked. But I honestly try to talk people towards the fostering, because there's so many kids out there who need positive homes, who need great homes. And this is something I tell them. My husband asked me this question, and I promise you, this one question can change your whole perspective on parenting. We were going through all this, and I'm, crying many tears and all that great stuff. And he was like, I got a question for you. I said, yes. He said, is it that you want to be pregnant or you want to be a parent?
Mm.
And I was like, what? I want to be a parent. So, and I think, it's beautiful, but I think sometimes that's what we get caught up in.
Oh,
We get,
he's a logical thinker like
yeah,
my husband.
yeah, we get,
He's
we
big
get
on my
caught, yeah,
nerves.
yes, because they be right. That's the thing. You like,
And they be right.
yes, they be right.
I want to be over here in my
Yeah,
feelings.
exactly. Let me feel
You
how
over
I
here in the logic
feel.
land.
So why you got to ruin it by bringing common sense into this? No, let me
I understand.
let me dwell. But he asked me that,
Right.
and I was like, I want to be a parent. So he said, does it matter how you become a parent? Is it that
Mm.
you have to be pregnant, adoption, or foster? If you could become a parent with one of those options, take it. Stop denying it. I was like,
Wow.
man, you get on my nerves. This, I'm selling him
But you're
out.
right though.
I'm selling
But you're
him,
right. But
selling
you
them out in my
get on my
brain.
nerves.
I'm selling them. All
Go
right.
somewhere else.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. All right. So, and after that, and that's the question. I leave that with everyone because I
Mm.
talk to a lot of people who's gone down the fertility train, who just having issues, whatever. And they were like, I just don't know. I say, well, we're going to end our phone call. This is what I want you to think about.
Right.
And that's the comment, that's the question that gets them to think. Because, a lot of people are like, oh, I would never foster. I was like, for us, it was a blessing. It was fun. We didn't have any issues. And I guess because we went in there with the right heart, we were in there with a pure heart. It wasn't
Yeah.
about, because everybody like, oh, y'all can make some money. It wasn't even about that for us. We would have did it without the little money. Because that's all it is
Yeah.
little. We would have done it
Yeah.
without it because we wanted a family. For us, we were doing it to start a family. So our outlook was just totally different on
Mm.
everything, and it was a blessing for us. I tell you, it may not be for everybody, but I tell people, consider it, consider it, consider it,
Think about it.
because
I love that question. Do
yeah,
you want to parent or do you want to be
yeah,
pregnant? That's
yeah. And it was
a good
crazy
question.
when we first got him. We different people knew, so different people brought us things, gave us things, asked us what we needed. But then, some people got upset. They was like, "Why you didn't tell us? We could have thrown you a baby shower." And I was like, "It wasn't about that. You know, we want a child." I said, "Now, if you want to, go ahead and get some Pampers, some wipes, some formula, help
Right.
yourself
Pay
out."
for it.
But
Right.
it's
Right.
like we weren't even thinking about that. That something wasn't even on our radar as far as a baby shower. That weekend we went to Costco, bam, bam, case, 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 case. We were on a child. And
That is quite the way to think about it. And especially today in the day and age of social media, where
yes,
you see people documenting their pregnancy and the
yes,
gender reveals and the big elaborate baby showers.
yes,
And some people get caught, just like people get caught up in the wedding and like the man, they get
yes,
caught. I never even thought about that
yes.
part.
We
They
get
get caught up in that.
we get caught up in it, and
But
it becomes bigger than what was really going on. And
yeah,
the result is the biggest part of it all. The result is, you having your child. That's the blessing of it all.
that's the blessing in all of it. Yeah.
So, it's just, and my kids, I think I would say my son, my son, he's biracial, Native American black. And only maybe like once or twice he's been questioned. Why you're a little bit lighter and you have all that really good hair and your family is dark. And but we've coached the process. He's like, well, I look just like my mom and I have my mom's hair. That's right. That's right. you know, we coached him on it. We tell him how to handle that. That way, we can't allow society to hurt
That's right.
to hurt him. So, but my daughter, like I said, she looks just like my husband. So she's never been questioned. But, but like that's why I told him, I said, this is when I tell y'all, you guys were created for us. You were
Yes.
created for us because you fit right in.
Fit
And then
right
I always
in.
tell them, I say, my mom is light skinned, so your grandmama is light skinned, so you could have got the color from her. He was
Yeah.
like, that's right. And I said, your great granddaddy is high yellow. So you could, he was like, that's right.
That,
So, I'm like, it's there in the
yeah.
bloodline. He was like, oh,
And
okay.
I like that you said that you train him to not let society dictate, because especially right now in this
Yes.
day and age, and everything is everywhere, and
Yes.
everybody feels like they need to voice their opinion about
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly.
So I love that you've done that.
Yes.
For me growing up, I had those same issues because my mother is also very loving,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I am not.
Mhm.
And so my mom told me when I was little, I would take my arm and put it against her arm and try and figure out
Mhm.
why. And so, but that was a different time,
Mhm.
information wasn't everywhere and internet
Exactly.
wasn't everywhere. So, but even knowing very young, growing up and knowing what that meant, and I knew how to handle,
Mhm.
and, like your son, I was quick. Oh, I'm adopted.
Exactly. Quick, quick.
Quick.
We're like, listen, boy, you don't have to tell you. Shh.
You have to tell everybody. My mom was gonna say, Tarsh, now Tarsh, you don't have to
Yeah.
tell everybody.
And I would tell him, I say, it's not. I'm not saying this for you to be ashamed of it, but
Right.
I want you to learn conversation. That's
Absolutely.
not conver. You
That's
you
it.
just
That's
you
that
trying to have
conversation.
a conversation and you just jumping out with that. So people looking like, oh, he is. Yes.
Because people don't know how to handle it.
Exactly.
That's wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna end our conversation right here. Thank you so much. Like, anybody that's thinking about fostering or adopting, her story is incredible, and she just gave you some nuggets that
Yes.
you would probably go out and purchase a book.
Yes.
She just gave you some free game
Yes.
right here. Is there anything else that you want to tell the people before we end this?
Um,
Anything else? Any
well, I already
thoughts?
dropped my big nugget, but I always try. Like I said, I just leave people with, is it that you want to be pregnant or you want to be a
Mhm.
parent? And when you think about that and put God on top of that, your answer will
Mhm.
be revealed. So just be blessed and just reach for whatever you're trying to achieve. Just keep reaching, don't give up. I could have given up, but I didn't. My husband, he was like, no, we're not. So, and I'm glad and I'm so blessed that I didn't, because if I would have given up on what God had spoke to me years ago, I wouldn't have my two blessings in my house now. So just keep praying and just remember, do I want to be pregnant or do I want to be a parent?
And I'm going to end with that because that's the question, family. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Adoption Journey podcast. Maria, thank you so much for your incredible adoption story. And if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. If you are on Spotify, please make sure to give us a follow. Until next week, bye, family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.